A very warm welcome to you all to the one-on-one set. Our guest tonight is Kusumanjali Ramkhalawon. She is a pastry chef and a cake artist. And tonight, during this episode, Kusum is going to share with us her journey in the culinary field. Kusum, thank you so much for joining us in the studio of the MBC.
Thank you for having me on the show, Koyal.
Kusum, some people are actually born with natural baking skills and a certain flair for a certain craft. However, it is also a skill that can be acquired in a classroom or in a kitchen. Share with us, where does your passion for baking stem its roots from?
Actually, I never really envisioned myself doing pastry as a profession. When I grew up, it was really my father who had this profession his whole life. So when he started the business, I was still in school and he was working in hotels while trying to maintain the business. So every day I would wake up very early and I would watch him rush, kind of do the work for the business and then having to rush to hotels like to work. So eventually when my school ended, I was still waking up early. So I kind of saw how he was in a rush always, all the time. So I started to visually learn, watch him bake, watch him pack all the cakes, watch him decorate and everything. So I started to pick up on what he was doing. And then eventually I started to ask him to let me do it instead, so that he kind of lifted, like all the little tasks kind of lifted from his shoulders, and I was doing the work with him. So that's kind of really how I grasped the skill of being in the business, and more specifically baking and the pastry skills.
But when did you actually decide to pursue this as a type of career path? Because you're actually studying human resource and management, right?
Yes, actually, it's really the encouragement that came from my parents, my family, and even the customers. Because, like I told you, my father would be working in hotels. So sometimes people would come to us and they would have urgent orders, like immediately they would need a cake. So my mom would like tell them that my daughter can try to decorate the cake, and she's still learning, but she can still try to do it. And a lot of the customers would be very supportive. They would like give me the chance to do it for them, and they would actually pay me for the work that I was doing. So it's really that kind of encouragement, and I was having fun doing it because it's really something artistic in a way. So when you're working with colors, when you're working with design, having the ability to work on different things, it's really just, it was fun. So I kind of thought that it would be a good idea to pursue it as a if not a main profession, but as a side profession that kind of helps the family business as well. So I decided to take it up on the side.
It's always good to have a side hustle, actually, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. And Kusum, have you actually followed a certain training in baking?
Actually, I didn't follow any specific training in the bakery field, in the pastry field. So my education, my formal education, most precisely, it's really, it has nothing to do with the pastry business. When I was in school, I was studying literature and economics, and now, as you mentioned, I'm doing my human resources. I'm pursuing my studies in human resources. So it's really self-taught in a way. When it came to decorations and everything, I would watch a lot of videos on the internet, and also learning from whatever my father was doing. So I would just watch him, and it's also his advice and everything that he was doing. That's kind of what made me develop this skill. So no training in specific, just...
It's in the genes then.
Yes, I guess.
Kusum, what do you like in pastry that you cannot find in other culinary field?
Okay, so pastry for me, it's about patience and taking the time to do, to really execute like your product. So when it comes to baking, you have to be very patient, even when it comes to like the chemical reactions of ingredients to one another. For example, when you're going to make bread, you have to you really have to you have to have the patience for the dough to rise and everything. So it's really about having a lot of patience in what you're doing. And I've always liked to, be creative, have creative ideas. When I would give gifts to people, I would like to take the time and love and do something for them, so that it kind of sends a message that you're taking the time to do something for them. And I think that baking kind of reflects that trait in me. So baking really, it's something that appeals to me in a way.
Pastry is also a lot about accuracy, precision, and subtlety, which at times make it more difficult or more challenging, if we can say, compared to other culinary field, right? What's your view on that?
I think that yes, it is. It does have. It is very different from other um, fields, but I think that if you have the ability to, if you are patient, if you can do it, it's not for everyone. I think it's not for everyone, because some people, they like to do other things that are going to you have to take the time and everything. So it's
Very
really,
careful and neat.
yes, you have to be very careful about all the little things. The details is very important when it comes to baking, because if you have like the wrong precision, it's not going to work as wonderfully as it should.
And baking is also considered as both a science and art. At what point do you believe that pastry turns into a sort of art for you?
Pastry is about flavors and the presentation. It works both ways. So when it comes to flavors, it's really about how you are making things work together. Flavors. It can be like you're making something out of lemon, or any flavor that is accessible to you. And when it comes to the presentation, it's really about making it appealing to others. It's about how you are making them feel excited about the food, like they're attracted to it, they want to eat it. So that's really about it. Like, art is really about how you're evoking a feeling out of someone. So if you're able to attract someone based on how you're visually presenting your
To
cake,
capture the attention, right?
yes, to capture the attention and to kind of stimulate those taste buds, that helps them, like, makes them want to eat the cake. So yes.
And Kusum, nowadays we see that there are so many types of cake representing all types of object. Do you believe that innovation and creativity is very important for a pastry chef?
Yes, I think that there has been a consequent evolution in how pastries and cakes are being presented. I'm sure that you've seen all these realistic cakes that are all over the internet. So it's kind of like a fun thing to do. It kind of keeps the field engaging in a way, where it keeps on there's like a constant evolution of how pastry is being presented, how it's being used as a way to engage people, to make it seem more fun, to make them want to eat the cake. So yes, I think that creativity is really, it's really like making it survive in a way and giving it a long-term like existence appeal.
Yeah, there's a lot of focus on the decorative aspect of the cake now, right? People are more like interested in making the cake visually appealing.
Yes, it's really yes, people are really concerned with how something looks. I think that it's really about the lifestyle as well that we are going towards. A lot of youngsters, they like to post pictures on the internet. They really want to have like that lifestyle content. So whenever they have something like the pastry or a cake that they see that like they want it to be visually pleasing, so that they can flaunt it in a way. They want to have something really nice so that it kind of corresponds to their lifestyle. So yes, the visual presentation, like the appeal is really.
But in that sense, the taste of the cake actually get compromised? Or
No, actually, I think that the presentation of the cake is the first thing that attracts someone, but it's really the taste that is going to get your customer, your client coming back to you. Because I think the flavor is really what makes, that kind of demarcates you from other pastry chefs or other businesses. It's about how you work with your flavors, you work with your taste. You do not compromise with the things that you bake like your cake and everything. For the visual presentation, you can see that a lot of people are finding pictures on the internet and they're coming to pastry shops and they want the cake to be a certain way. But how many people are finding like the same pictures and then going to different it's like the visual presentation of the cake can be found commonly maybe a lot of places, but it's really the flavor that's going to make the person come back to you. So it's
Yeah.
really the flavors that are going to make you survive in the pastry
Yeah.
field.
Like we've mentioned earlier, you're a cake artist, but where do you find inspiration to create cakes? Like, is it through a lot of research?
I I do not really. So basically, when it comes to like my inspiration, I watch a lot of videos on the internet. I keep myself. I watch a lot of pastry influencers. I watch how they do their cake, and that kind of. I feel like I'm a visual learner. So whenever I watch other people do something, I kind of grasp the idea of how they're doing it, and I always want to do the same. I want to try to do the same. I feel inspired by how they are executing their own skill. So that's kind of the learning point for me, how I feel like I should also try to do it. I should um, that kind of what inspires me. It's really about how other people are doing it, and it's also about the orders that we get as well. So people are going to come up with a lot of ideas for themselves, and they want me to execute it like on a cake. So it's kind of the challenge as well that keeps me engaged with keep on making and developing in the pastry field, in the cake decoration aspect of the business.
Is there certain pressure when trying to execute a certain type of cake that your
Yes,
client has asked you?
yes, definitely there is a lot of pressure because uh, it's not only when it comes to business. It's not only about passion. It's also about the fact that you have to take care of other elements like time. You have to have the discipline of for a lot of things. You have to be very. You have time. You need to have time management skills and everything. So whenever you cannot really mess up when it comes to the time and everything, because when you're passionate about something, maybe you'll take a lot of time to do it. But if you are in the pastry, if you're in the business itself, you cannot just take too much time to do something. You have to do it under a certain time frame, so that's what it is. You cannot really just take all of your time. So yes,
And how much time does it take you to complete a cake?
I think it depends. For simple cake, it can take like 10 minutes or 15 or maybe less even, maybe 5 minutes. But for certain cakes, it can take you hours. For certain decorations, you have to start on the eve or even 1 week before. It depends on the work, the sugar work, or it depends on the kind of decoration that you need to work on. So it depends for.
Do you actually have any specialty when it comes to cake baking?
So when it comes to baking or cake decorations is really what I really like to do. So because as I mentioned, it kind of keeps me engaged in a challenging way. It kind of keeps my creativity, you know, it kind of keeps it going. There's always something new to learn. There's always something new to execute. So it's really about cake decorations that I am very keen on doing. But I also I like to bake other things. Like I have to do other things as well, like macaron génois, as a lot of other things that I have to learn in order to keep the business going as well.
But what's your most favorite creation? Tell us about it. How was the process?
My most favorite creation, I think that it's really, I wouldn't say that I have a specific creation, but it's really about how I started. I started to sculpt when I started doing the cake decorations. I never knew that I could sculpt because I learned that I could do it because I had to do it. So when I started sculpting and everything, that kind of the way that it progressed, the way that I started being good at it, that's exactly what made me feel like I was kind of proud of what I was doing. So yes, it's kind of like the decoration part, the sculpting part. That
Kusum, to be a pastry chef, it requires craftsmanship. I mean, all the creativity in the world can't fake the skill it needs to succeed. So, what, according to you, are the technique that you believe a pastry chef should possess?
So, besides the pastry skills itself, I think that there should be a lot of discipline and time management skills. My father always says that the baking process starts even before, way before you start baking itself. You have to have good rest. There are certain preparations that you have to do. You need to be, you need to know what time to bake so that you can serve the cake. So it's really about your organization skills. It's really about all of that, and it's also about the conceptual skills. I think before you execute something, before you work with flavors, you have to kind of taste it at the back of your head before you put it out there. So I think yes, you need to have like all of these aspects and skills within yourself so that you can really demarcate yourself and be good at what you're doing.
And food is actually linked with memories and occasion. So, what is your most loving memory with cake and food?
So when it comes to food or cake in specific, I think it's really about when I was younger, like when I would go to school, I would always come back home with my cousins and everything. We'd go to my grandmother's kitchen and we would have tea and always cake or pastries. So that's kind of one of the like sweetest memories that I have when it comes to food, because other foods, it's kind of, it doesn't really give you back that moment that you have with your family.
Yeah.
And you're sharing something, you're at the table, and then you're talking about your day. So it's really about the tea time that I've had when I was younger that really stays with me as a core memory.
And share with us any funny kitchen disaster that happened to you and how did you deal with that?
So when I just started out on like the pastry business, when I was helping my father out, there were quite a few disasters that I say that I had. For example, as I mentioned, like there's a time frame for everything. So when my dad would ask me to make a syrup, I would go about to boil water and then add sugar to it. And then my dad was like, "What are you doing? We don't have time to boil. You have to, there are other efficient methods, ways to make a syrup." So I was kind of doing everything the traditional way. And I remember I was trying to sieve sugar, which we do not usually do. So that kind of through those silly mistakes is how I've learned.
You learn from the mistake also, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And how do you view that? How do you see now that the way cake and pastries will evolve in the coming years?
I think that there is a lot of focus on being sustainable. So I think that we're kind of going to have more maybe healthier options when it comes to baking, when it comes to the way that people are consuming. Maybe you can even see that there are more people opting for vegan options, or they're supporting businesses that are plastic free, or that's really, when it comes to baking, I think that there are going to be more healthier options, like healthier options for the people, for the market, really, because there are really like substitutes for everything now. They're going to be substitute for like to make healthier pastries and everything. So I think it's really about the health aspect.
Kusum, there's also some competition that actually goes in this field. But do you feel that social media has helped you to gain a certain audience? And
So when it comes to social media, yes, social media has really helped the business grow. Like a lot. It has helped us reach out to so many people, and so many people, they also, when it comes to taking orders, it's kind of more easy for them we are more accessible over the internet to answer to people's queries, to whatever whatever they have to questions they have about the cake, the price and everything. If we can do a certain thing, they're going to ask it first. They're going to like have more information about it. And it's also about how people are also posting pictures of our work, and then other people finding it out. It's also about the reviews that we receive. So it's kind of a platform for everything that we do. It's like a platform where people can come and see what we are doing, and they judge, they compare. So that's kind of how
Keeps you going, right?
yeah, that's exactly what keeps us going.
We are actually drawing towards the end of this episode, but before that, Kusum, what are your objectives now as a pastry chef?
So as a pastry chef and as a human resource student or aspiring professional, I wish to really develop the pastry business in terms of training. As you can see that we are giving like training classes when it comes to baking. So I kind of wanted to, it's also my father's dream to make it a pastry school. So that's kind of what we are looking for in the future, and also expand in terms of products, in terms of making more pastry products accessible to people, because a lot of people, they like to bake at home. So making little things or decorations, making it accessible to them, and then giving them the you know making giving out products out there that's going to help them bake at home and have fun with everything when it comes to baking.
And any advice you would like to give to youngsters who are hoping to make a career in this field?
So those who want to make a career in this field, I think it requires a lot of patience. You have to take the risk. There's going to be investments that you have to make, but you have to be very patient. You have to be very consistent. You have to work hard. You have to be ethical. You have to have the discipline, and also you need to be able to study your market. That's very important. You have to study your market. You have to make sure that whatever you have to offer, it corresponds to whatever people are looking for. So if you can, manage to have all of that little things in mind, I think that you're going to definitely, make progress in the field.
You'll succeed.
Yes. So that's it, really.
Thank you so much, Kusum. It was such a delight to have you on the set tonight and learn more about your passion for cake.
Thank you, Koyal, for having me on the show.
Dear viewers, we have now come to the end of this episode. Thank you for your time. We hope to catch you next week at the same time, same channel. Have a great evening.